Today's Read-Alaudamus Read Aloud is Todos Iguales, All Equal, a ballad of Lemon Grove. This is the story of the first school desegregation in America. It happened in Lemon Grove, California, near San Diego. Roberto Alvarez and his friends were literally kicked out of their own school and told to go to a substandard school that looked like a barn because they were Mexican American. Roberto and most of his friends were born in America, and that made them American citizens. Read along with me to see what happens and how this brave student and his friends and family brought equality in schools for everyone. This book was written and illustrated by Christy Hale. A Ballad of Lemon Grove. Weekday mornings, while the sun was slowly ripening over Lemon Grove, California, 12-year-old Roberto Alvarez raced out the door. He loved school and didn't want to be late. He hurried along North Avenue and around the corner to Olive Street, where he joined his friends on their way across town. You can see Roberto there with his house in the background. The sun's just coming up, and look at those beautiful lemon trees. Roberto and 74 other children from his neighborhood continued on their daily trip. Their parents, migrants from Mexico who had settled together in Lemon Grove years before, were already at work in the orchards, fields, packing house, and quarry. The older children guided the younger ones through the busy Imperial Avenue intersection, over the railroad tracks, and onto Lincoln Street. Brothers, sisters, cousins, and friends all took care of one another. You can see the cars coming down the street. Look at all the children holding hands as they carefully crossed the railroad tracks. This was a long journey. It wasn't just across the street to the school. They had to walk for a bit. The rest of the 169 students who attended Lemon Grove School arrived from nearby homes. Roberto waved to his friends. Although the Mexican and Anglo families lived and worked separately, the children swam together at Polly's Pond, and they all played baseball together. At school, the children met as equals too. They lined up near Principal Green. At 7:30, the bell rang, and they entered the building side by side. What a beautiful building it is, too. You can see all the children up on the steps playing together, talking to each other. They're not separated at all. They're having a good time waiting for school to start. During the summer of 1930, the Mexican-American children spent their time playing together and running in and out of one another's homes. The neighborhood was like a big family playground. But across town, the school board was making secret plans for the students. At the top, you can see the kids playing around outside the houses. Moms are drying laundry. Someone's feeding chickens. And at the bottom, you can see the school board meeting, and they're having some lemonade, and they're talking, and someone's writing notes. I wonder what the secret plans are. In September, Roberto noticed new construction on Olive Street, not far from his home. Throughout the fall, the neighborhood children watched, peeking through the gaps between the rough boards, as a 2-room, barn-like building appeared. In late November, 2 swings and a teeter-totter were added near the building. Suspicion grew that this was to be a separate school for the Mexican-American students. You can see the kids peeking into the windows, the older girls holding the little guy up so he can see better. And it does look like a barn. It doesn't look very solid like the other school. And the kids seem a little upset. One day in mid-December, Roberto was playing ball near his house when Principal Green stopped by. Unlike the school board members, he wanted the Mexican families to know about the new school. Principal Green gave Roberto a piece of paper with 2 columns. "Would you do something?" the principal asked. "Go to all the families and ask them to sign on the left if they're coming to the new school, and on the right if they're not." At home, Roberto's uncle tore the paper to shreds, but the news spread quickly, and the community united. You can see the kids in the background playing hopscotch and soccer, and there's the principal handing a piece of paper to Roberto. He's not smiling. Roberto looks surprised. On January 5, 1931, Roberto and many other Mexican-American children returned to Lemon Grove School. They huddled outside, sharing stories of their holidays. When the bell rang, Principal Green raised his hand for silence. He stood like a guard at the doors. "Move aside and let the Anglo students go to class," he told the Mexican-American students. "You do not belong here." Anglo is another word to describe American or white American. How do you think the students felt? Look at them, they're in shock. And even their Anglo student friends are looking really sad and disappointed. What a horrible thing. These kids are very upset. Principal Green told the children that their books had already been moved to the new school on Olive Street. Mrs. Elliott and Miss Markland would accompany them there. The two teachers tried to guide the group along, but the children had been warned by their parents not to go to that barn. One by one, the students broke away from the teachers and ran home until only 3 children arrived at the new school. You can see them walking past the lemon trees. The kids in the back are running away. Even the ones on the side are trying to get away. There's just the one student the teacher's holding his hand, and the 2 students in the front whose teacher is holding their hand, who seem to have made it to school. In the evening, Roberto and his family squeezed into the Bonilla home, along with other neighboring Mexican families. The parents had come to California many years before to make better lives for themselves and their children. They wanted the children to receive a good education, but the new school was small, roughly built, and filled with cast-off school supplies. It was an insult. One parent pointed out that her children were born in the United States and were citizens. Other parents nodded in agreement. Many of the children were United States citizens. Juan Gonzalez took the lead. He proposed that the families form the Lemon Grove Neighbors Committee. If they all refused to send their children to the new school, the school board would not be able to get away with segregating their children. You can see the parents sitting around, and Juan Gonzalez is standing and talking. Juan Gonzalez and Roberto's mother traveled to San Diego to meet with the Mexican consul, Enrique Ferreira. The council indicated that the Mexican government thought the situation in Lemon Grove was very serious, with implications for other communities. The new school was just a pretext to segregate all Mexican American children and give them an inferior education. Council Ferreira gave them families his full support and offered the services of 2 lawyers. The parents filed a lawsuit against the school board for separating students who were United States citizens on the basis of heritage. The community held rummage sales and barbecues to raise money. Newspapers printed articles that brought support from the wider Mexican community and helped pay legal expenses. While the parents were working on the suit, Roberto and the other students boycotted the school. In the top photo, you can see the parents sitting and talking in the council's office to lawyers and discussing the case. And in the bottom, you can see the rummage sale going on, and there is a student reading a paper, and the headline says, "Lemon Grove School Strike Still Going On." Soon, Roberto took a more active role. Everyone knew he was a good student, so the Neighbors Committee selected him to represent all the children. The case of Roberto Alvarez versus the Board of Trustees of the Lemon Grove School District went to the court before Judge Claude Chambers on February 24, 1931. Roberto listened as the school board claimed that the new school was not a racist way of segregating students, but a way to give special attention to students who spoke poor English and had other, quote, deficiencies, unquote. Roberto replied to all Judge Chambers' questions with intelligence and in perfect English, disproving the school board's false portrayal of the Mexican American children. Deficiencies means there's something wrong or less than. You can see Roberto sitting in the witness stand. A lawyer is questioning him. Judge Chambers is looking on. And behind the judge, you can see two flags, the American flag and the California flag. On Thursday, March 12, 1931, Judge Chambers delivered his ruling in the case. Quote, I understand that you can separate a few children if, to improve their education, they need special instruction. But to separate all the Mexicans in one group can only be done by infringing the laws of the state of California, unquote. The school board was ordered to admit Roberto Alvarez and the other 74 Mexican-American students back into Lemon Grove School immediately, where they would receive instruction on an equal basis with the Anglo students. Behind the judge, you can see the American flag and a shining sun of light, and there's a banner that says IGUAL, which means equal in Spanish. The following Monday, when the school bell rang at 7:30, Roberto and the other Mexican-American students walked past Principal Green and entered the school to learn as equals. And you can see from the picture that all the children are smiling. Everyone is happy to be back with their friends. A corrido is a song or ballad that tells a story. The form developed in Mexico in the 19th century but descended from romantic tales of medieval Spain. The song is called a corrido because it is sung rapidly. The Spanish word correr means to run. It has a simple tune and no chorus. Traditionally, corridos were written about real characters, events, and themes of heroes who fight against injustice. You can see the corrido written for Lemon Grove on the next page. Discussion questions. Why do you think the school board didn't want the parents to know about the new school? Why do you think the principal drove over to their neighborhood to let them know about the new school? Do you think the students at Lemon Grove missed the segregated students? How many cultures are represented in your classroom? What is your favorite food? What country does it come from? Food and language are one of the biggest indicators of culture. This case was resolved in 1931 and did not go on to higher courts because the school board ran out of money to appeal. Other schools in California were still segregating students until Earl Warren, governor of California, desegregated schools in the state in 1947. In 1954, Earl Warren, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, ruled that segregation was illegal in America after listening to arguments in the case of Brown versus the Board of Education. The Supreme Court decision was unanimous with all 9 judges agreeing. Look in the description for more resources if you would like to further research this topic. This page shows pictures of all 3 children whose cases helped desegregate schools nationwide: Roberto Alvarez, Sylvia Menendez, and Linda Brown. Roberto Alvarez's case, of course, was against the trustees of Lemon Grove School District, the book we just read. Sylvia Menendez brought a case against the Westminster School District of Orange County in 1947. That case helped desegregate schools across California. And finally, Linda Brown, whose case Brown versus the Board of Education helped desegregate schools nationwide. This page describes the principals in the case. There's Roberto Alvarez when he was much older, and there's a school picture of him as a child, his class picture. And on the right, you see Jerome Green, the principal of Lemon Grove. Then you see Juan Gonzalez, the organizer who helped get the parents' neighborhood committee together and talk to the council. And finally, you see Ramona Castellanos Alvarez, Roberto's mother. The final picture is of a building called the Roberto Alvarez Auditorium. It's at Lemon Grove Middle School, and it's named after Roberto Alvarez. This page talks about the history of Spanish-speaking people in California. They've been here since 1542, when Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo arrived in San Diego. And it talks all the way through to what happened in Lemon Grove in 1930. The pictures are the map of Northern and Southern California, Baja California, and Alta California. You can see graphics of folks picking lemons and also working in other fields, packaging lemons, and construction.